The way we estimate housing market equilibrium has changed, and with it, the way the market is evaluated must change. Market equilibrium is the theoretical balance where the supply and demand for homes are equal. Over time, the market seeks equilibrium, but a balance is seldom achieved for any period. The old rule of thumb that 6 months' supply of homes for sale is about right is regularly used to make decisions that impact housing market behavior for a long time, but this rule must be revised. An adjusted definition of market equilibrium means changes to how we measure buyers and sellers markets, and it will impact the forecasting models that home builders use to determine their production expectations and planning. The concept of market equilibrium is the foundation of all real estate forecasting, which includes advising homeowners of property values. Somebody using the old standard will have different forecasts and expectations than someone using the new standard. Today, we'll look at why our measure of market equilibrium has changed, to what degree it has changed, and how the change will influence our measurements and forecasting for the future of U.S. home sales. For our viewers from Tallahassee, I've included a link to all the listings available today in our local MLS. I include them in this report as anecdotal evidence to accentuate and support the succeeding graphs that report a depleted inventory of homes for sale in the U.S. Housing market equilibrium has often been estimated to be about 6 months' supply of homes for sale. In the past, when the market was near equilibrium, we expected homes to appreciate at roughly 3.5% to 4% per year, and home sellers could put a home on the market and expect a sale within 6 months. I went into great detail explaining how the change came about in an article on my website if you'd like to get a more thorough explanation, and I've included a link to that article below. But to keep this video from getting too long, I have cut down the discussion to the simple fact that digital marketing and changing consumer expectations have sped up sales by about 2 months. What once took roughly 60 days to reach the full market of buyers for a home now only takes about 4 days, so we can reduce the required supply of homes by 2 months, from 6 to 4. This simple graphic explains how housing market equilibrium is measured and how the change will impact subsequent measurements. The bottom of the graph shows a neighborhood of homes representing supply, while the top half shows a crowd of people representing demand. On the far left, there is high supply and low demand, while the opposite can be found on the right side of the graph, where demand dwarfs supply. The months of supply of homes are plotted on the horizontal axis. The blue dashed line shows the historically accepted market equilibrium at 6 months of supply, while the red dashed line plots 4 months of supply, a more accurate reflection of a balanced market in the digital marketing era. The new equilibrium means future buyers will have fewer homes to view than buyers did in the past. If you are a long-time subscriber, then you know I often discuss housing supply and demand because it will always be the hyperlocal measurement of the supply and demand for homes that determines how home prices will change. If you're not a subscriber, please click the thumbs up like button and subscribe now so that you get all my new content when it is fresh. If you really want to know what's going on in housing, to see and hear the data explained, to evaluate the facts, and ignore the hype reports that are so prevalent online, then subscribe now and I'll keep you in the know. This chart shows the relative supply of homes for sale in Tallahassee, Florida, a local example that mirrors the overall U.S. housing market. Using the traditional definition of market equilibrium, we would say that the market hit equilibrium in 2016. That's the left gold star. But the revised definition of market equilibrium shows that it was reached in 2018. That's the right gold star. In 2020, the market moved further into an inventory deficit and has progressively gotten tighter through today. Tallahassee has not seen a reversal in the relative supply of homes for sale, but as you will see in the next graph, the U.S. has moved up from the bottom. It's important to remind our viewer that the supply and demand dynamic for homes, hyperlocally, is used to determine home price growth in any area. The relative supply of homes for sale in the U.S. is finally rising for the first time in 3 years. This graph plots the number of homes for sale in the U.S., the blue lines reported on the left vertical axis, and the relative supply of homes for sale in red, measured in months of supply on the right vertical axis, to produce the 1-year trend of the relative supply of homes for sale, the gray dashed line measured on the right vertical axis. It is this dashed gray line that we want to key in on. Today's relative supply of homes at 2.5 months is far below either definition of market equilibrium. This means that the housing market remains undersupplied for the current demand and that home prices are expected to rise until or unless we see demand plummet even further. Though we see falling prices in some local markets, most U.S. markets still show year-over-year gains. This is another graph using data from the Tallahassee real estate market, though it too will parallel what most U.S. housing markets report. The prices in different areas might be higher or lower, but the relative supply will be distributed similarly. In this graph, the market has been segmented at $50,000 intervals up to $1 million, and all homes above $1 million are reported together. The blue bars measure the month's supply of homes for sale. The yellow field identifies the old measure of market equilibrium, while the blue field highlights the new measurement of housing market equilibrium. Regardless of the definition, homes priced below $450,000 in Tallahassee are undersupplied. As we move to higher prices, there are fewer homes, so we see fluctuations in the graph. Roughly reported, I would say that under the old definition, the market is oversupplied above $750,000, whereas the new definition might say it's oversupplied above $550,000. Can you see why it's important for us to have a solid understanding of market equilibrium today? The key takeaway from this graph is that the market is split. Homes priced in the lower half of the market exist in a strong seller's market, where demand far exceeds supply and home prices are rising faster than the historical norm. Homes priced among the higher half of the market are slightly oversupplied, so there is pressure on home prices. Most local markets are observing a similar dynamic, so it should now make sense when you hear conflicting reports on home price changes. If you want to see a video featuring my 9 tips for buying a home in a highly competitive market, you can view it by clicking on the box in the top left corner of your screen. To see a popular video featuring my top 6 home selling tips, just click on the box below it. Please remember to like this video, check out the links below it, and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss anything.